Hello, my name is Dallas, and I worked on the Railbelt Decarbonization project with Phylicia Cicilio this summer, more specifically energy storage in the Railbelt system. As Savannah already started our presentations with the native land acknowledgement, but I'd like to acknowledge the funding for our project from the Office of Naval Research. So what is the Railbelt? The Railbelt is an electrical grid that spans from Fairbanks all the way down to Homer. The peak load just under 1,000 megawatts, and it's just under 80% of the whole state's electrical load. And the Railbelt Decarbonization Project's goal is to have 100% carbon-free energy production by 2050, and to explore different solutions to decarbonization of the Railbelt system. So my research this summer was to explore energy storage solutions with an emphasis on long duration energy storage, which really puts the emphasis on several hours and days worth of energy storage. Also emphasizing using existing infrastructure along the rail belt to implement the energy storage systems, such as abandoned or decommissioned mining lands and depleted natural gas reservoirs. And then using this information to create test cases for each energy storage technology and modeling that as well. So some of our research project goals were to learn about different types of energy storage devices, determine which are long duration energy storage and how exactly those work, using GIS and historical data to find different locations to apply the energy storage systems, and to use power modeling software such as PSSC and Power Factory model test cases for the storage in the railroad. So the bigger picture here is we're trying to present solutions for long duration energy storage in the rail belt, which ultimately is going to raise more questions than it answers. But we are proposing the idea of how to maximize production with the implementation of variable renewable energy across the rail belt as working to decarbonize it, such as like your solar, your wind, being able to maximize the efficiency of those by having that long duration energy storage. It also prevents the use of untapped infrastructure when thinking about constructing new energy storage systems rather than clearing land or mining new wells into the ground, being able to use some of the infrastructure that's been just sitting dormant for even like up to a century's old worth of mining lands. And using this also cuts the costs when you're trying to implement these energy storage systems. You don't have to worry about construction costs with raw materials. You don't have to worry about labor. You're also reducing more carbon emissions that you'd have from construction by using the existing lands. Some of the research methods used for this project were an energy storage deep dive. Involved a lot of reading different research papers and tests from different research groups and national labs, just to determine how these energy storages work, how is it modeled, what is their capacity, cost, size, understanding the characteristics of each of them to determine whether it's a viable long duration energy storage option. Again, like using tools such as IEEE Explorer, OSTI, NREL's database, even just like finding infographics and publications on line, like different videos to really visualize how these systems are put into place. So the next couple of slides are some of the potential long duration energy storage systems that could be implemented to the rail belt. The first one we have here is pit thermal energy storage. This falls in the umbrella of underground thermal energy storage. So you're getting that energy from the rail belt, and you're pumping that heat into an insulated pit into the ground. This would be, for an example, a result of some like dormant open pit mine, you're going to have that like thermally insulated lining across the bottom of the pit and over top, having that heat diffused and using that water as a storage medium for the heat, and then pumping that back out and converting that back into energy when that's needed. Another viable option is compressed air energy storage. And this one is something that isn't looked into much. This is due to the lack of a viable container for the compressed air. It's usually looking at salt caverns, which aren't present in Alaska. But what we do have is the Cook Inlet full of depleting natural gas. And as those phase out, trying to be able to phase in the compressed air systems. The problem with that is you have a bunch of volatile hydrocarbons that are left over from the natural gas. So some of the costs associated there are using nitrogen to purge those compounds to be able to store the air at the high temperatures and pressures underground. Another type of energy storage that's in its infancy is gravity energy storage. This would be an example of using that with a weight. So what gravity energy storage does is it takes a large weight and will keep it at the bottom of the shaft, and at valley loads, when energy demands are very low, it brings that energy up to increase its potential energy, and then as energy is needed at a peak load, it's slowly going to bring it back down using regenerative braking, which minimizes the losses of kinetic energy to produce energy back out into the railbelt. So what we have here is a map of different mining claims along the railbelt. This excludes different just like mining prospects and ore occurrences. You can see us, the top up in Fairbanks as it extends down. So this is where the possible lands are for different energy stores. Some of the challenges with modeling are a lot of the modeling software for power systems doesn't distinguish what type of battery is used for different energy storages. So it's hard to differentiate what like type of energy storage is being used in a model. Also, the lack of information from the owners of some of the mining claims. Some of these are decades, centuries old, so we don't have specifications on the conditions and size of some of the mining shafts or the pits that are existing across the railbelt. And so the lessons learned are some of the most promising sounding energy storage methods are some of the least researched. Also, the lack of information from a lot of people who own these mining lands across the railbelt. Also, the challenges involved with being able to model power systems. And some key things I would like to do differently are spend a little less time in some of the reports that were less helpful, but I guess I wouldn't really know that until after I read some of them. And some advice that I would pass along to someone who is going to pick up on this project is to physically go out and find some of these sites to determine the condition of feasibility. I know next month, some of our power systems integration team will be going down to Delta Junction and touring Pogo mine to scope out the situation there. Some of the next steps are to develop more effective models for the energy storage and power factory, and to continue to reach out to more of these owners of the different mining claims to get more of the specifications so we can properly design test cases for our models. Conclusion, a lot of these sites have potential, but it's more of gathering this information in from the people who have it and continuously researching these methods and navigating the modeling for that. I'm well out of time at this point, but feel free to find me around the office, either of my emails to reach out. I didn't get really much into a lot of the capacity and costs for a lot of those, but feel free to reach out and I can answer any questions you may have.